So the two spaces of the gallery, it leads me to two things. One thing is the ashtrays. So the first room of the gallery, we're putting up a big series of drawings of ash trees, which I've called Llywyn On, the Ash Grove, which obviously relates to the Welsh folk song, the Ash Grove, Llywyn On. Relates to the, if you like, the bardic ash grove where the bards used to meet, and the ash tree, of course, was the wood which people used to make staffs or wands, taliesin's wand, that sort of thing. So the ash tree obviously is crucial to our our mythology, almost our creation. Added to that, we've got this in 2012, 2013, we've got these spores drifting in from Denmark, where the Vikings came from, which are causing a lot of the ash trees to die back, which is happening in Wales to a certain extent, certainly happened a lot in the south of England. So that's another reason I wanted to make these drawings of ash trees. So where I live in the middle of Montgomeryshire, Mwldan, we have 2 or 3 very ancient ash trees and then a lot of little young ash trees in hedges and things like that. So I've been spending the last year, I suppose, going outside drawing the ash trees. This is obviously one of them, down in the bottom field at Dolphevis. I think that was probably November last year, so it was about a year ago. And then there's some other drawings in the exhibition which are summer ash trees in leaf. On the outside wall, we've decided to place a drawing which I've called Yggdrasil a Bwrdd, which Yggdrasil is the mythical ash tree of Icelandic folklore. The Bwrdd is the table in Welsh, because the second half of the exhibition here is all about people meeting around a table. So the drawing facing, if you like, facing the foyer of the theatre, Yggdrasil a Bwrdd is a sort of combination of this mythical ash tree with the eagle in its crown, with the snake living in its roots, and with a little squirrel that runs up and down the tree, communicates between the two. And then there's a group of, if you like, forestry people, I don't know, land people in the landscape around a table in the drawing as well. Because the other thing I've been trying to do as a sort of as a theme since, if you like, since stopping working in committees, is to draw committee meetings. Because I always find when you go to not so much just a meeting where you chat, but a meeting where important decisions are taken, there's an extreme politeness goes on most of the time, but also decisions get made which are quite drastic. So I wanted to express that feeling of people meeting around a table, not in an illustrative way exactly, but in a kind of dynamic way. So yes, there's a table with people around it, but also there's kind of stuff in the drawing that expresses the future, the past, the decision making, the power of bits of paper, the power of the chair, etc., etc. So the second space, which we've configured the 2 spaces to be roughly equal in size, but you walk through the ash grove part of the exhibition and then you come into the back part of the exhibition where the sort of meeting drawings. And they're mostly about, if you like, committee meetings, but there's 1 or 2 in there which are also dinner party type of meetings, where people get around a table and talk. A few things on the table expressing what's going on, so there might be a plate with a cake on it or a cup of coffee or one of those things. And in those drawings I've almost always used a dog, usually a large hairy dog with large teeth, which will either be just walking past or trying to get up on the table or interrupting the dinner party. And again, it's another way of sort of expressing the fact that it's one of our civilized institutions, the dinner party or the committee meeting, but being human beings, we're not that civilized. So, introducing the dog, which is domesticated but actually unruly and still an animal, it expresses that feeling that there's more going on in the meeting than just ticking off items off the agenda. I've always drawn with charcoal because it's a lovely medium, it's a natural medium. So charcoal on paper, black on white, is like elemental. It's the most basic thing, and it's a hard medium. The charcoal is very hard, it breaks, and the drawing on a drawing board is hard, and so you can get quite an angular, hard line. And that angular line is, I found when I was at college, similar to the line you get when you're carving into lino to make lino cuts, or into wood, or into stone. So I've found those two things, the charcoal drawing and the sculpture by cutting, have a link. The thing about sculpture is it slows you down, because I think there's a passage of time when you do a drawing. So although you might do a charcoal drawing in a few minutes or half an hour or half a day, or whatever it is, the time goes on while you're doing it. When you're carving, because of the resistance of the medium, it slows you down, so each line of the carving becomes more kind of to the point and maybe how you want it, so it kind of makes it more crucial somehow. But the sculptures that I put into this exhibition actually, this completely new departure for me. I've worked with brick clay and also with wax, which has then been cast into bronze. So I've sort of suddenly, it's through doing these trees really, I've got interested in that more organic, fluid thing that you can get with clay. I mean, using clay as drawing. I mean, when you talk about drawing, we're really talking about making shapes, making lines. It's the sort of activity that creates the form, isn't it? And so you can do that in clay or in paint or in cutting paper or whatever, you know. These tree drawings, apart from being tree drawings, they're actually also drawings about space, because I think psychologically we human beings are very sensitive to distance and inhabiting space. So, you know, the distance between me and the wall, or between me and you, you know, or between the camera and myself, it's incredibly important for our existence, and it always has been. And a tree is an organism that will grow to fill, or to move towards the light and fill the space that it's in. So I think a tree expresses that idea of, expresses the idea of just the space that we live in, whether it's outside or inside a room. It's sort of, I think it's a really good way of trying to feel, well, distance and closeness, you know, because that's the wonderful thing about a drawing or a picture. You can have something in the drawing that's supposed to be like a foot away from you, and something else in the drawing that might be half a mile away, and the two can become part of the same design. That's the magic of two-dimensional art, I think.